Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, I see them yopo.
Impo time ana IMF deal no enya ensoside no na government ashase se obo bobo sia wabobo bia ma edi kan ba na no na masa Kwesi Pratt beka se yemfa borrowing enso over borrowing essence aban we be chena akonya so wabobo sia bebre pa na no na ewo good morning Ghana the Metro TV so no masa Kwesi Pratt akase this government have been a borrowing government. Wama they say Ghana a problem ayo over borrowing inti. Say why over borrowing ya? Now per se will solve this problem na yen ko borrow bio MS solve over borrowing. Now we in Sembebre na Masa Kwesi Pratt. Ekaya ewo Metro TV good morning Ghana so abrano ne Dr. Randy Abe atnasi. Na asa na yebekwa akotie de okaye ne ye no make sure say obe subscribe to channel no click bell no so say the news ba oso nsa betumi aka na ntem no watie yenko na yenkotie say the Masa Kwesi de ntem tuja.
There are so many problems with what is happening. I mean, the just lane, the hype, and so on. So many problems. First of all, we are told that we are about to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, if you go through the tunnel in total darkness, what is the value of the light at the end of the tunnel? What's the value? It has absolutely no value. In any case, if you look at all the schedules, the official schedules of the IMF, the board is to meet today on Benin. Ghana is not there. Okay. Now, there are some indications from you and Randy that the schedule of the board is going to be altered.
Yes.
And that it is possible that the board will meet on Ghana today.
According to the IMF Media Advisory.
Yeah, no problem. Now, if the board is going to meet on Ghana today, are we predicting that the board is going to approve the Ghana deal? Because they haven't met.
Yeah, because if I look at the IMF Media Advisory, it gives me the impression that they expect that Ghana's deal will be approved, and therefore they fix the press conference to announce the details.
But a press conference could also be to announce that the deal has not been approved.
It's possible. It's possible.
Yeah.
But normally, they do that to announce Ghana's deal.
So it's just pure speculation. What you're doing now is absolute speculation. There's no point, you know. But even if it were true, what would 600 million do to Ghana? Over the last 3 years, look at the loans you have taken. Just calculate the loans we have taken over the last 3 years. What did we do with that? And if we didn't do anything with that, if we still got into the problems that we are in now, I'm not so optimistic that $600 million will change our destiny. In any case, the president...
You know what you said is quite interesting. You know, last week alone, we borrowed 3.3 billion through treasury bills, just last week, 3.3 billion.
Yeah.
And the 3.3 billion will come to maybe some $250 million.
Yeah.
Yes, just last week.
So that's the point I'm making. So all this hype is just a hype. $600 million would not change our situation.
It's a bigger picture, Kwesi.
Yes.
Not just, does the bigger picture not go beyond the budgetary support, which is the 600 million, to the freeing up of space? For example, that once we get a deal, what it will mean is that our creditors, for example, have agreed on the debt restructuring, and therefore that then paves way for projects that have stalled. We will get to know what will happen for the international market that is being closed. We will get to know if it is now open and by which terms. So obviously there's a budgetary support part, And there's also the issue of now having clarity and certainty on how the international community expects to do business with us.
Randy, break it down. All that you have said, break it down.
Oh, how?
You're going to get the credibility to borrow more.
Oh, yes.
My goodness. We are suffering from overborrowing.
Because we are still borrowing. I just told you that last week we borrowed 3.3
But that's the point I'm
billion.
making. What our disease is that we are overborrowing. And the cure is to borrow more. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. When our disease, what is holding us down, what is keeping us down is that we have overborrowed. The remedy is to borrow more.
We have added more tax handles. We have enhanced the existing tax handles in order to rake in more from tax revenue. Maybe that more would lessen our rate of borrowing.
I'm still
because we're always dealing with a certain gap. Let's say that maybe our revenue is 1 cedi and we require 3 cedis, so we borrow 2 cedis. If we raise our revenue to 1.5 or 1.8, our borrowing will drop from 2 cedis to maybe 1.2 or 1.
Is that a solution? Is that a solution? It's not a solution. Just beating about the bush.
Small.
You know, just beating about the bush.
You speak to better than me.
Honorable, you are here. What is the solution? You tell me that.
He has been attending the annual meeting.
So you tell me how that is. It's not a solution at all. You understand? I mean,
I'll not go to US again.
One of the things that I have completely failed to understand is the fact that we are talking about a revenue gap. You understand?
Yes.
We are talking about the fact that our revenues...
In fact, it could also be seen as an expenditure issue. But we decide to always want to look at it from a revenue point of view.
No problem.
Yeah.
The problem is that if you add what we have borrowed to what we are generating, is not able to pay our bills. Is that not the problem?
Yes.
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 Okay. Now, if that is the problem, why are we not looking
at the expenditure?
No, I'm not even looking at expenditure.
Okay.
I know that there are problems with expenditure, but I'm not looking there. I'm looking at wealth which is generated here, which does not stay in the Ghanaian economy. Nobody is talking about that. Nobody, for example, is talking about a review of the foreign exchange retention agreement we have with the mining companies.
Is it possible that they have perhaps looked at it and they don't think that it is legally feasible, or that perhaps are some legal bottlenecks that we might as well avoid and perhaps maybe look at new agreements?
No, I don't see any bottlenecks.
No, I'm just asking.
No, I don't see any bottlenecks. And if there are any bottlenecks, I want to be educated.
Because maybe some of those contracts have been signed, ratified by Parliament or something. So maybe there are implications if you decide to change them. I don't know.
They can go to Washington. They can't go to Osu.
Okay.
They can go to Washington, Paris, and other places to renegotiate.
So if you can take pensioners' money, you might as well also go and renegotiate.
Parliament is in Osu.
Yes.
I mean, where we are sitting is walking distance.
True.
They can't go to Parliament. They can go to Washington. It doesn't make sense. You understand? It doesn't make sense at all.
Well, you get a point, Kwesi?
Yes, I get a point.
Yes.
That if we can, because you see, for almost all the debts that we seek to restructure, they are all bound by law. They are all legal documents. Many of them have gone through Parliament, or they are valid legal documents. Yet, on the basis of where we find ourselves, we've seen the need to say that, look, we can't pay. So sit with us and deal with it. I mean, as for the domestic people, that we've dealt with them as if they really don't matter, but that's another issue. Now he's saying that, assuming that the issues that I raise are even clear and present dangerous paths, why don't you adopt the same situation? That's the point. I guess that's the point.
I mean, and there's a lot more. I mean, you're giving tax holidays to all kinds of companies and so on in the billions. Okay? If you're in this very critical situation and you need to do renegotiations and so on, what about all these huge tax holidays that we're giving to companies?
They've gone to Parliament with that.
Yeah. If you amended
all the
tax exemptions.
now there's a new Tax Exemptions Act. And that streamlines
the issue that you are raising. But I understand where
I'm not
is coming
impressed by fine English.
No, but the point you're making,
interestingly,
I'm not impressed by fine English.
Because interestingly, while the thing was before Parliament,
Yes.
awaiting the Act, we were still sending exemptions to Parliament to approve.
Exactly.
Yes.
And are we sure that?
But this okay. So
Master, are we sure that this review will take retrospective effect?
Oh,
It
no,
won't.
no.
But we are in crisis. We are in deep crisis.
Ukruwi pa. Don't crow na any obia njana kakra ansha no because it's crazy. It's crazy. Upon wa hochira yokumu nyine aban afechira ko bobosia. What ya see? How much to say as a IMF we never no, it's just like yedikutia bosia kana setting. Do you get it? Well, no, Amasa Kwesi can. The overborrowing is too much. The overborrowing is getting too much, and we don't kill overborrowing with borrowing. Abaya wabe transfer abo busia abo in the past 2-3 years. Busia abaya abo is the amount is bigger than the amount IMF edeba besoya sinena. But the difference is when IMF is coming to support you, you don't use the money on your own way or normal directives. Do you get it? To use the money to do a build economy in kakra. So if not that, the IMF SIS Bosian no so your best kwandano. Do you understand? So we've been borrowing since, but we don't use the money to build our economy, said the Master Kwesi can. And now we continue to borrow to come and pay debts. So when is Ghana going to stop borrowing? This is the question we all need to ask ourselves. Omaya itimi da ben the beka tafe de omaya ye jai borrow. A government who promises of taking us from taxation to production. This government has imposed so many taxes on us, all because a sky or honor, even heritage funds and their honor, where the most Kenya. And now the government has no money to lay hands on other than seeking IMF intervention. And even with that amount that will be coming, will not even sustain us or satisfy the economic needs of this country. So what should we do as a country? Now the borrowing too, we can't stop, and always we have to go and borrow, and always the country will still be in debt. You say China agro and ma ba omo nsem ebisa ya penny for modi o man yenim. When kasa pie mejo adwenkyerɛ comment section.